monitor work and work performance. So performance is judged by comparing the actual results requirements agreed upon on the several service level contracts. Okay. So some of these particular ones here would be, it helps prevent and reduce fraud because they're actually acknowledging what they're going to perform. So you're validating that, okay, from a procurement standpoint. Helps avoid conflicts when misunderstandings or unexpected requirements arise. Okay. So performance, you want to judge performance before they arrive on your site. You want to get the performance factor completely identified so there's no questions. Has anybody ever been caught up on a contract? Somebody painting your house or somebody washing your car. Their level of performance was not to par in what you expected them to do, but yet they have a strong argument, you know, when you confront them. And of course, it reinforces the partnership as a given. Okay. Agree on performance, agree on the specifications, okay, such as, there's an example here, polish all unpainted metal surfaces in reach. So what's in reach? Right? I mean, in reach is without a ladder or with a ladder. Well, you didn't really specify if I needed a ladder or not. So I'm only 4'2", so my reach is what, 5 foot? So I just got 5 foot within my reach, and my mirrors are 6'2". So everything up to that point, yeah, yeah, you know, more, and it's not as high, right? So you know, you just got to define the parameters, just like any other contract. Okay, identify known outcomes. Okay, such as anticipated work hours. Okay, the work hours are between 7:30 and 4 o'clock. Okay, that's when we expect to work and be on site and remain on site. What's the clock in, clock out procedures? Evaluate results and variations. Another example would be moves, adds, and changes that alter the original plan or cause specifications or expectations to change. So in this particular one, if I had an expectation that changed due because I had a process change, then I have to go back to my service level agreements and reevaluate those. Because if it happened at this particular campus or with this particular customer, chances are it's going to happen again. So I might as well alter that and fix that. Okay. Another example were plants. I used to outsource my plants. Did I share this story with you? I haven't shared this story. I got a lot of stories. I had indoor plants, beautiful plants, right? Big pots, right? Well, I outsourced that. I never worried about plants because they would come in and they knew exactly how much minerals, you know, vitamins, right? How they sprayed the leaves down, trimmed the leaves, and so on. So we thought we could save some money, so we basically took the plants back. How much work is it to water a plant? Anybody ever consider that? You got plants at home? Who's got plants at home? Right? Are they healthy looking? Yeah, okay, that's me too. Okay. Our plants lasted maybe 6 months, and then all of a sudden they all died. So what we did, we just started moving the pots out to our compound until they got full. And then we had to open up another compound because put more pots in there. The bottom line, that was not our core. That was not a core competency, managing and maintaining plants. Okay, a little bit different than facilities work. So what we ended up doing, bless you, we ended up doing is calling the same supplier back after 18 months and renegotiating the contract. Lesson very well learned. And I hope that, you know, we even killed the cactuses. Don't ask me how we did it, but they died too. I mean, they were all shriveled up and brown. I mean, this is sad. John, this is a real sad situation. There was total risk on us. And of course, with that, you know, there was quite a bit of investment. So of course, when we renegotiated the contract, do you think they would provide a guarantee plant replacement for us? Absolutely not. So we're going to add that onto your contract as, you know, somewhat of a reverse penalty for letting us go in the first place. So that means that if one of the plants dies, held harmless, and you have to pay for the replacement plant. Whereas my contract before, it was full guarantee replacement on plants and pots. So I lost 20 years of having a contract relationship in 18 months to get me back to zero. Actually, subpar zero. And now I'm starting this process all over again. So sometimes decisions are not the best decisions for the sake of saving costs. Okay. Janitorial services, the typicals that you'll see. The types of areas that we require a cleaning, that's a given. Determine the needs of the occupants. Determine you would clean a hospital totally different than what you would clean an auditorium. And different sets of standards in regards to those as well. Okay. Identify the special needs in regards to the cleaning. We talked about them at my facility in regards to being secure and clear going into particular areas. Yes?
At your facility, do you guys purchase their cleaning equipment, though, or is that part of their contract?
That's part of the service contract, part of the SLA. So they provide the cleaning equipment and accessories. And then we also ask them to provide us a maintenance records on how many times they clean the vacuum cleaner bags or replace them. And in some cases, how many times that they replaced the burnish or polishing wheels when they polish my floors. Okay, so that's part of the service level agreement in regards to that. We provide all the paper products because we can get them at a discount through a corporate discount. So we'll negotiate that contract on what's going to be most advantageous for us. And of course, the contractor will look for opportunities as well. Okay, good question. Define specifications, expectations, and of course, a budget. Okay, what's going to be the budget in regards to janitorial cleaning? And janitorial is probably one of the most contentious, I guess, pieces that you'll ever have in facilities. Because reason why? You've got all these pairs of eyeballs watching, and all these noses smelling. And what someone, like I mentioned, someone thinks is clean to the other person is completely filthy. So then what you've got to contend as a facility manager is you've got to like part the ways and say they're meeting the specifications. Well, that's not how my maid does my house. You got a maid at your house? Wow. It's like, well, okay, send them over and you pay for them. But in those cases, meeting those expectations is going to be critical, especially for your customers. Okay. And of course, some of the services, again, interior walls, building exteriors, parking lot sweeping, window cleaning could be bundled in with that janitorial contract. Okay, recycling efforts could also be bundled. Some cases, windows where they actually provide their own scaffolding and fall protection training is going to be bundled into that janitorial contract with window cleaning. Some cases, some janitorial contractors are large enough to provide those services, and some are not, depending on who you're going to get. Okay, sometimes it'd be might be more advantageous having it stranded, where you're only paying for components versus the entire. I don't have a 2-story building. I can get all the window washing from the ground floor. But if I had a 30-story high-rise, and then I might want to consider bundling that where they provide the entire service for me. Okay. Janitorial services, again, some of the interior cleaning, stairwells, tenant spaces, okay, restrooms. Out of all these here, which one do you think is the most critical? Yeah, you're right. Okay. Yep. That's probably the most critical. If I only had 3 custodians come in tomorrow morning and we all huddled and says, Patrick, where do you want us to concentrate? I'd probably send them to the restrooms and says, spend the whole day just cleaning restrooms. Stairwells, everything else we can forego. Okay. And then here's the typical specification. Primarily, it's a job plan. So you're determining what you expect, the cleanliness in the doors, the frequency, if it's daily, weekly, monthly, quarterly, semi-annually, or an annual type of cleaning specification. And what it is, it's a real simple matrix that you follow, and it's almost in every service contract. Okay. So, and then costs, this is typical, this is the benchmark. Somewhat dated, it's about 9 years old. But you can tell the in-house staff versus contracted basically boils down to price, cost per square foot. So if I had a 100,000 square foot facility, that probably wouldn't make much of a difference. But say I had 4 million square feet. Now I'm talking about a chunk of change that I can save by outsourcing, okay, my janitorial. Okay. And then waste management, again, typically, we talked about these items. One item is mailing material. You'll be surprised how much junk mail we receive at our site. I mean, I'm talking about gondolas full of junk mail every day. And you look at this stuff going out to the recycling bin, And you wonder, we're printing that every day and sending it out. Like the stuff you get at home, it's like, they've got to be making money on this stuff. Somebody is. So what we try to do is try to minimize and try to do as much digital printing and also receiving as much digital data as possible. The only problem with that is it clogs up or the other side, the IT, side of the servers. Cleaning and maintenance products and, of course, containers. Typically in a waste management contract, they'll provide everything. They'll provide the roll-offs. In some cases, they'll provide the compactor. You can lease a compactor. You can sometimes purchase a compactor depending. I lease all of mine. And the reason I lease them is because all the maintenance comes with the compactor. So when I see an hydraulic oil leak or when the switching or the controls are not operating, I give them a call and they come in and they repair it. So again, it just lessens the liability on the facilities organization. Okay. And then handling of hazardous waste. Okay. First, identification of what the hazardous waste may be. So what is hazardous waste? Just about everything, couldn't it? Depending on the application. Light fixtures would be one. In some cases, some electronic devices would be another. Paints, chemicals. Some cases, the byproducts from demolition, depending if it has any asbestos, or other type of friable materials associated with that. Typically, you'll have a remediation plan before you get to that point, but those would be considered as hazardous materials. Handling guidelines that would be embedded into your service level agreement. What's going to be the requirements for those, such as shipping them off your site. Even though they're in their truck, it's my product. So if something happens on the freeway where they're in an accident, I'm probably just as liable as the service provider, as the hauler. Okay. Waste minimization, that's key right there. I want to minimize the liability, so I minimize the amount of waste. So the restrooms, when we remodel restrooms, we basically just tile over the existing terrazzo tile, believe it or not, and we put another drop ceiling beneath the hard lid ceiling. You walk into the restroom and you can tell any different from any other restroom. The only difference, we minimized about 5 tons of debris going out to the landfill, and of course the waste hauling associated with that. Simple solution. Administrative responsibilities such as documentation, how much waste, the poundage, where it was transferred to, the manifest associated with the waste, and where it was disposed of. So it's a full circle in regards to the administrative responsibilities and the appendices associated with that hazardous waste. So anything to do with EPA or OSHA requirements is going to be a requirement for that contract as well. Okay. And your typicals, within your building materials, PCBs, molds. Okay. Whoever thought Arizona would have a problem with mold? Ever consider? When I was a kid, whoever's talked about mold? I'm dating myself, I know. But, nowadays, though, everything has changed. There's more one is the public is probably more aware than they've ever been on what is considered a hazard within a building. You all have access to the internet. You all have access to resources and data and information. It's completely changed. When I was growing up, we didn't have computers. So I would just ask my parents, is that safe? Oh, yeah, go ahead. Just don't fall off in the pit because we can't get you out and, we'll replace you or something. Okay. But in those cases, just the streaming of data, and how fast that we can extract that data and process it. Underground storage tanks. Has the site had prior contamination? Would be considerations for waste management. Depending on your facility, some cases you can't extract the soil and haul it off. Sometimes you'll see these little signs posted, we'll take fill dirt to fill up my old pool. Well, in some cases, you got to be careful on what they're bringing into your backyard. It's like, yeah, I got some fill for you. It says, you got any other pools you want me to fill up? The same thing as well. I want to take some soil from my facility to another area and then drop it off. Again, it's liability issues. So, again, you want to make sure that those are included in your contracts. And then dispose of hazardous waste, strictly regulated, that's a given. This here, believe it or not, have you walked down the street? Have you seen a little medallion that says, do not throw hazardous material down storm sewer? You wonder, will people do that? What do you think? Gosh, it's amazing, but yes, it probably still happens on a regular basis. Okay, more than what we want to know about. Must be clearly labeled. What's so important about these labels?
Some gases burn and clear. You can't even see it. Like saline, I think it is, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So some of the hazards, right? Risk and injury. Okay. Other reasons why you want to make sure that your placards and your MSDS sheets are up to date and appropriate, correct, validated. Sure. Emergency procedures, right? Okay. Disaster recovery. And other items is for the hauler to know what they're hauling. Okay, in regards to that. It's a DOT requirement, knowing exactly what type of hazards. Because some hazards you can't take to certain parts of the thoroughfares and the interstates. Okay, so those are going to be extremely important. And not only that, but also first responders. So they know exactly, like you mentioned, in regards to, the types of hazards that are unknown. Okay. Inspected audits should be conducted on a weekly basis. And, of course, the use of personal protective equipment when handling waste. Okay, so these are special waste, haulers that we have. How about grease traps? Is that considered a waste? Okay, sure. We have Baker Commodity that picks up ours in a regular interval. Okay, they provide that. But, of course, all that's part of the requirements, part of the service. Okay. And, of course, the last piece here is just a sustainable, again, the use of materials. We try to optimize items that are not depleting from our finite, which means that at some point we'll be out of resources. So whatever we do in the maintenance side, we try to optimize that. One is that they have recycled content, materials in that. One is they're suitable. And the other ones is they have very minimal VOC or toxins or any type of hazards. So I don't have to have those placards, Ionized water is one that's big in janitorial cleaning. It's where it mitigates the amount of detergents that you use. There's still debates, is it as clean as 409? Well, it depends on the application. I mean, if the place hasn't been cleaned in 50 years, it may not work as well. But if it's been properly maintained, it could be, a suitable replacement, Release pressure on existing finite resources, does not increase pollution or pose hazards, Purchasing policies that promote ethical behavior and good corporate citizenship. So whatever it is in regards to hazards or waste hauling or janitorial or even the service or the contracts that we provide, all of those ethical behavior in regards to one is sustainable material as much as policy, as much as possible per your policies, And then the most common recycled. We added another one, which was the electronics over here, And then waste by source. Post-consumer waste versus post-industrial waste. Consumer waste is what we generate at home. So as post-consumer, we get a 6-pack of Coke. And I think everybody recycles, right? Everybody has a recycle bin, And I see that's going pretty strong within Phoenix now because I see all our they pick up our recyclables every Thursday. So every Thursday when I'm driving into work, I see all the little blue barrels lined up, completely stuffed with cardboard. But then I come to think about it, I get to a stoplight and I'm thinking, because I'm looking in my rearview mirror, and I'm seeing all these little blue tubs lined up on the sidewalk. And I think, why did they even do that in the first place? Why not sell a Coke by individual Cokes? And take your recycled container and put 5 Cokes in there, or 3 Cokes, or 4 Cokes, whatever you want to buy. Then all you got to dispose at that point is just the aluminum can. And post-industrial waste is anything associated with building materials. So I get back to the pallets, I get back to the wrapping material, the styrofoam, the packaging peanuts, the little styrofoam packaging items. Recycle those. They're not worth anything in the market. Best you can do is, recycle them, put them in a bin, and then ship them right back out with your products. So you take them in one day, you extrude them back into another package, and you send it right back out, And waste disposal methods, Landfills, incineration, burn it, Resource recovery, depending on the landfill. That could be sources of energy, recycling, composting, thermal treatment. In this case here is where you actually burn and generate some sort of energy coming off the heat and byproduct. Okay. And then, of course, construction renovations. Every one of these is going to produce some sort of waste. So every construction site, you're going to have the roll-offs. So the question would be is, do you have them properly labeled? Lumber, metals, cardboards, paper, so on. And are those being picked up on a regular basis? Okay. So again, it's just a piece. When you first start breaking ground, you know, all the vegetation, shrubbery that you removed, are you mulching that? You know, again, trying to optimize, because one, you already cleared the land, but at least optimize, you know, the uses of those byproducts. Okay. And of course, this is just some examples. Recovering, recycling, construction, and demolition. Reduces the environmental impact. Again, I don't have to, one, manufacture more cardboard, because that requires energy to make that cardboard. So it's amazing if I could order all my valves to come packaged, open, and not enclosed in a box. It's going to save somewhere along that food chain having to build or fabricate more cardboard or strap or banding. Okay, those particular ones. Reduces the overall project costs through avoided landfill. So there's tipping fees. Everything that you haul off your construction site or my facility, there's fees associated to that. Okay, so the more that I minimize, the more dollars that I save. Helps community contractors, facility owners comply with regulations. Enhances the public image of the companies. When I tour and visit other facilities, one item that I always look for is, do they have recycling receptacles? You know, as I first walk into the door. As I go back into their construction areas where they do TIs, do they have the different types of roll-offs? Okay. Do they donate, like used carpeting, to Habitat of Humanity? Or do they donate maybe to a local charity? So I may not be able to use it, but you know, I can donate these chairs maybe to a school and get a second use, second life out of them, right? And of course, conserve space in existing landfills. Okay. You ever think about it though, how many people live in this world? And every one of us, I don't know how many tons we generate in our lifetime. So, gosh, you know, you put the math together and it's like, I don't know how much longer we'll have resources, but there's some opportunities out there to minimize that impact. Okay. Construction waste streams, salvage, reuse as much as possible. Okay. Allow workers to reuse scraps. In some cases, you're not allowed to use a piece of 2x4. Part of the specification is you cut it off a new 2x4. Okay, I don't know the integrity depending on the construction. But if they're given the leeway to use scraps and other parts of materials like a piece of drywall, I just need a patch. I don't need a full sheet. And I've got a half sheet over here. If anybody's done remodeling in their homes, we do that all the time. We salvage scrap as much as possible. And if you had a larger remodel like I did, I kept moving my scrap pile from one room to the other as I finished the room until I got it back to the last room. Then I had to disperse it. Then I gave it to my neighbor. I convinced my neighbor's wife to start their renovation. My neighbor hasn't talked to me for 10 years. Okay. Recycling, again, return durable packaging to suppliers. One of the contracts is if you deliver pallets, you pick up your pallets. But if they're a supplier from Florida, guess who's going to pay for the freight to ship it back to Florida? I am. So in some cases, it's not conducive, to consider that. But if it's local, say it's Pepsi-Cola or somebody, yes, I can embed that right into the contract. You come back and pick up so as you drop off Cokes, you pick up your used pallets and take back with you. That way I have no inventory for pallet storage. Okay. And of course the construction waste stream, identify the responsible party, identify the types and quantity of waste. Okay. Concentrate on the ones that are going to give you your maximum efficiency and opportunities. List the waste management options. Can we insource it, outsource it? Do we have a third party or even not even order that? Step 4, identify the sites and the contractors going to be associated with this particular management plan. Okay. Conduct training the individuals. One item is when you start asking the folks out in the field about recycling, you'll be surprised how much they know and how much they can contribute to that. Okay. Extremely experienced individuals. document the site, any site constraints such as access to the facility. Maybe it's not as mobile. Maybe it's going to cost me as much fuel cost to recycle than it is to do something with that particular recyclable materials right there on site. Okay? Document actual waste produced as a measurement criteria, monitor, and then conduct a post-project review. Has anybody done that? Has anybody been involved in some sort of construction debris reuse or new construction material reuse in regards to documenting? And how much did we actually have? You?
I work across the street. I mean, we're on a lead project, and we had to keep track, make sure we're separating everything like that.
Yeah.
We get like the weights and everything back.
Yep. Were you surprised how much weight goes out?
It's kind of crazy, especially concrete adds up real quick.
It does. And it's recyclable. That's the crazy part. You know, instead of putting the chunks in the alley, you know, you can actually have that recycled. It's ground up and used for other base.
Yeah. And then I'm also on the lead side where I'm tracking what of our products are have recycled content.
Mm-hmm.
So we're doing pretty good.
Yeah. And it adds up quickly, too. So if you considered every project and they started tracking that, the amount of, one, is the recyclables that we could obtain, and then also the less burden on the environment as well. Okay. And then reasons to recycle, I think that's a given. I think everybody's familiar with that.